Being alone in the woods feels peaceful until it doesn't. No cars, no people, just silence. And sometimes that silence breaks, not with something loud, but with something small, a sound, a movement, something that doesn't belong. These are 3 creepy encounters in the forest from people who thought they were alone until they realized they weren't. Story 1. The Whistling Trail. I've always preferred hiking alone. Not because I don't like people, but because the woods feel different when you're by yourself. Quieter, more real. You notice things you wouldn't otherwise. The wind moving through trees, leaves shifting under your feet. It feels peaceful. That's why I chose that trail. It wasn't popular, didn't show up on most maps. Just something I found online while looking for less crowded routes in Pennsylvania. The description said it was quiet. That was enough for me. I got there around late afternoon, parked my car near a small dirt entrance. There weren't any other vehicles, no signs of recent activity, which I liked. I grabbed my backpack, checked my flashlight, and started walking. The trail itself was narrow, almost overgrown in some places. Branches hung low. Leaves covered most of the path. It didn't feel dangerous, just unused. For the first hour, everything was normal. The kind of quiet you expect. No strange sounds, no movement, just the forest doing what forests do. I found a small clearing just before sunset, decided to stop there for the night. Set up my tent, ate something quick, and by the time it got dark, everything around me had gone completely still. That kind of stillness you only notice when you're alone. No distant cars, no voices, just nothing. I remember sitting there for a while, listening, and that's when I heard it, a whistle. Faint, somewhere deeper in the woods. At first, I didn't think much of it. People hike, people camp. Maybe someone else was out there. But something about it felt off. It wasn't a tune. It was just one short whistle. Then silence again. I waited, listening. Nothing. Then a few seconds later, another whistle. The same sound, the same tone, coming from the same direction. And that's when I realized something. It wasn't random. It was spaced, like it was repeating, on purpose. I sat there for a while, just listening, trying to figure out if it was actually someone. The whistle came again. Same sound. Short, sharp, then silence. It didn't echo the way normal sounds do in the woods. It felt contained, like it wasn't traveling far. I stood up slowly, not because I was scared yet, but because I wanted to know where it was coming from. I stepped just outside the clearing, looked toward the direction I thought I heard it. Nothing. Just trees, dark shapes stacked on top of each other. I waited. A few seconds passed. Then it came again. This time, closer. Not by a lot, but enough that I didn't have to guess anymore. It was definitely moving. I felt something shift in my chest. Not panic, just that quiet awareness that something wasn't right. "Hello?" I called out.
My voice felt louder than it should have. It echoed slightly through the trees. Then everything went quiet again. No whistle, no response, nothing. I stood there for a few seconds longer, then shook my head. Probably just someone messing around, I muttered. That's what I told myself, because the alternative didn't make sense. I went back into the clearing, sat down near my tent, tried to ignore it. A few minutes passed, and just when I started to relax again, I heard it. Another whistle. But this time, it wasn't coming from the same direction. It was off to my left. Closer. A lot closer. I turned immediately. Nothing there. Just trees. But now I didn't have to guess. Whatever it was, it had moved, and it wasn't staying in one place. I stood up again, this time slower, more careful. "Hey!" I called out again. Still no response, just silence. Then something strange happened. I heard a sound, not a whistle, something else. It took me a second to realize what it was, because it sounded familiar, too familiar. It was me, my own voice, faint, coming from somewhere in the trees, repeating what I had just said. Hey, but quieter, slightly off, like someone trying to copy it. I froze, because I knew I hadn't spoken again, and the sound didn't come from where I was. It came deeper in the woods. A few seconds passed. Then the whistle came again, right after it, like it was responding or continuing something. And that's when it clicked. It wasn't random. It wasn't someone just making noise. It was reacting to me, repeating me, following me, and getting closer every time.
I didn't say anything after that. I couldn't, because now it wasn't just a sound anymore. It was copying me. And the way it repeated my voice, it wasn't exact. It was close, but not right, like something trying to learn it. I stepped back slowly toward my tent, my eyes fixed on the trees, trying to catch any movement, anything. But the forest stayed still, too still. Then I heard it again. Hey. This time clearer, closer. I could tell exactly where it came from, just beyond the edge of the clearing, behind a cluster of trees. I stared at that spot, waiting, and for a second, I thought I saw something. A shape, not moving, just standing there, blending into the darkness. I blinked, and it was gone. Or maybe it had never been there. I wasn't sure anymore. My breathing started to get heavier, because now I couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't. Then the whistle came again, louder this time. Right after that, I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, moving through leaves, circling the clearing, not rushing, not stumbling, just walking. I turned slightly, trying to track it, but the sound didn't stay in one place. It moved around me, like whatever it was staying just out of sight. I backed up until I reached my tent. My hand brushed against it. That was the first time I felt something close to panic, because now I was cornered, nowhere else to move. The footsteps stopped. Everything went silent again, completely silent. And then, right behind me, I heard it, a whisper, close, too close. Hello. I spun around instantly. Nothing. Just the tent, still zipped, still exactly how I left it.
I stared at it, trying to understand how the sound could have come from there. Then I noticed something. The fabric. It moved, just slightly, from the outside, like something had brushed against it or pressed against it. I took a step back, heart pounding now, because whatever had been in the trees wasn't there anymore, and it wasn't circling me either. It was closer, right next to me, and for the first time that night, I realized something I hadn't let myself think before. I wasn't listening to it anymore. It was listening to me, and it had learned enough to come closer.
I didn't think anymore after that. I just moved. Grabbed my flashlight. Didn't even pack anything. Just turned and ran. Straight out of the clearing. Branches hit my arms as I pushed through, leaves crunching under my feet. I didn't care about the trail anymore. I just needed distance. Behind me, I heard it. The whistle. Loud. Right where I had been standing. Then, footsteps. Fast this time. Following. Not circling. Not staying hidden. Coming after me. I didn't look back. I knew better than that. In the woods, at night, you don't turn around. Because once you see something, you can't unsee it. I kept running. The flashlight beam shook in my hand, trees flashing past me, shadows stretching and breaking around me. Then, I heard my voice again. Stop. But I hadn't said it. It came from behind me, closer now, and clearer, not distorted anymore, not wrong, almost perfect, like it had learned. My chest tightened, because that meant something. It wasn't just copying me anymore, it was getting better at it. I pushed harder, trying to follow the direction I came from, trying to find the path, anything familiar. Then I saw something, a small break in the trees, the trail. I ran toward it, nearly tripping as I stepped onto it. Relief hit for a second, because now I knew where I was going. Then the whistle came again, right behind me, closer than before, too close. And this time, it wasn't just one. There were two, one slightly behind the other, out of sync. I felt my stomach drop, because that meant there wasn't just one thing following me anymore. I didn't stop, didn't slow down. I just ran, every step louder, every breath sharper. Then, right next to my ear, I heard it, clear, exact, my own voice. Don't look back. I froze for half a second, not because I wanted to, but because hearing that, coming from something else, broke something in my head. Then I kept moving, faster than before, because now I knew one thing for sure. Whatever was behind me was close enough to reach me. I didn't stop running until I saw my car. The second those headlights came into view, something shifted. The sounds behind me stopped. No footsteps, no whistle, nothing. Just the forest again, silent, like it had never followed me at all.
I didn't question it. I ran straight to the driver's side, fumbled with my keys, dropped them once, picked them up with shaking hands, and unlocked the door. Got inside, locked it immediately, and just sat there for a second, trying to breathe, trying to understand what had just happened. My chest was still tight, my hands still shaking, but everything outside looked normal. The same trees, the same darkness, no movement, no sign of anything. I leaned forward slightly, resting my hands on the steering wheel. Then I made the mistake. I looked up at the rear-view mirror, and for a second, I thought I saw something, a shape, standing just beyond the reach of my headlights, too far to make out clearly, but close enough that it didn't feel like imagination. I blinked, and it was gone. Just darkness again. I didn't wait. I started the car, turned it around, and drove. Didn't look back, didn't slow down, just kept going until I reached the main road. And even then, I didn't feel safe. I drove another hour before I finally pulled over. Sat there, trying to calm down, trying to make sense of everything. But there wasn't anything to make sense of. No explanation, no logic, just something that shouldn't have happened. I never went back to that trail, never even tried to find it again. But a few days later, I noticed something. It started small, easy to ignore. At first, I was at home, just sitting in my room, everything normal, everything quiet. And then I heard it. A whistle, faint, coming from somewhere in the house. I froze, because I knew that sound, the same tone, same pattern. I didn't move, didn't speak, just listened. Then, a few seconds later, I heard it again, slightly closer, and right after that, very quietly, I heard my own voice from somewhere behind me. Hello? Not exactly right, but close enough that I didn't turn around, because I already knew something I hadn't understood that night. It didn't stay in the woods, and it didn't stop following me. It just needed time to learn me completely.
Story 2. The Tenth Visitor. I don't usually camp alone, but that weekend, I didn't really have a choice. My friends canceled last minute, work had been stressful, and I already had everything packed. So I went anyway. It was a forest campground in upstate New York, not completely remote, but far enough that once it got dark, you didn't see many people. I got there around sunset. There were a few other campers scattered around. Families, couples, nothing unusual. I picked a spot near the edge of the tree line, not too close to others, but not completely isolated either. Just enough distance to feel like I had my own space. I set up my tent, got a small fire going. Everything felt normal, relaxing. That kind of quiet you expect from a place like that. By around 10 p.m., most of the campground had gone silent. No voices, no movement, just the occasional sound of wind moving through the trees. I sat there for a while longer, then eventually went inside the tent, zipped it up, turned off my light, and lay there, listening. I didn't move, Not even a little, because whatever had stopped outside hadn't left. I could feel it, that same kind of pressure in the air, like something was still there, just waiting. I kept my eyes open in the dark, staring at the inside of the tent, listening as hard as I could. Then another step, slow, right next to the fabric, close enough that I could hear leaves shifting under weight. Then another, and another. It started moving again, circling the tent, same pattern as before, slow, measured, not random, not wandering, intentional. I swallowed, trying to stay quiet, because now I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't an animal. No animal moves like that. No animal circles something and stops and listens. The footsteps moved around to the back of the tent, then paused again. The silence stretched longer this time, uncomfortable, heavy. Then I heard something else, a soft sound, not footsteps, something lighter, like fabric being touched or brushed right against the side of the tent. I felt my chest tighten, because now it wasn't just outside, it was right against me. The sound moved slowly along the fabric, like someone dragging their hand across it, testing it, feeling for something. I stayed completely still, didn't breathe properly, didn't make a sound. Then it stopped, right near my head, just inches away, on the other side of the thin fabric. I could feel it there, not physically, but close, too close. Seconds passed. Nothing. Then a light pull at the zipper, just a slight movement, enough that I heard the metal shift. My entire body went rigid, because that wasn't something brushing against it. That was someone touching it. I held my breath. The zipper moved again, just a tiny bit, then stopped, like whoever was out there was testing it, seeing if it would open. I didn't react, didn't move, because the second I did, it would know I was awake. The silence came back again, longer this time, and then, very slowly, I heard something that made everything worse. Breathing, soft, right outside the tent, close enough that it sounded like it was coming through the fabric. Steady, calm, like whoever it was just standing there, waiting and listening. I didn't know how long I stayed like that, completely still, listening to that breathing. It didn't change, didn't speed up, didn't slow down, just steady, like whoever was outside was calm, too calm. Then it stopped, not gradually, just gone. The silence that followed felt heavier than anything before it, because now I didn't know where it was. I waited. A few seconds, then a minute. Nothing. No footsteps, no movement, just the forest again. And for a second, I thought it might be over, that whatever had been out there had finally left. Then I heard it, a whisper, faint, barely there. Hey. I froze, because it didn't come from outside. It came from behind me, inside the tent. My chest tightened instantly, because I knew that wasn't possible. The zipper hadn't opened. I would have heard it. There was no way anyone could be inside, and yet I heard it again. Hey. Same tone, same distance, right behind me. I didn't turn around. I couldn't,
because if I did, I'd have to see what was there. And something in me already knew whatever I heard outside wasn't just outside anymore. Then I heard something else. Footsteps. Outside again. Slow. Moving around the tent. The same pattern as before. And that's when it hit me. There were two. One outside and one inside. My breathing got heavier, because now it didn't matter if I stayed still. It didn't matter if I kept quiet. Something already knew I was there, already inside my space. The whisper came again, closer this time, right next to my ear. Don't move. I shut my eyes, tight, trying to block it out, trying to convince myself none of this was real. But I could still hear it, still feel it, that presence right behind me. And at the same time, the footsteps outside kept circling, slow, deliberate, like it was keeping me there, trapped between both of them, with nowhere to go. I couldn't stay there anymore. It didn't matter what was outside. It didn't matter what was behind me. Staying meant waiting, and waiting felt worse than anything else. I opened my eyes slowly, still facing the front of the tent, the zipper just a few feet away. If I could get out, if I could just reach it, maybe I could run. I didn't think about what was outside. I didn't think about the footsteps. I just focused on one thing: move. I pushed myself up slowly, trying not to make sudden noise, trying not to alert whatever was behind me. The whisper didn't come again, but I could still feel it, close, right behind me. I moved forward, one step, then another. The fabric of the tent shifted slightly with my movement. Outside, the footsteps stopped, completely, like whatever was circling was now standing still, listening. I reached the zipper. My hand hovered over it for a second, because I knew the moment I opened it, everything would change. But staying wasn't an option anymore. I grabbed it and pulled. The sound of the zipper ripping open felt louder than anything that night. Sharp, echoing, exposing everything outside in one motion. I didn't hesitate. I pushed through the opening and stumbled out. Cold air hit immediately. The campground was dark, silent, no movement, no people, nothing. The space around my tent was empty, completely empty. I didn't stop. I ran, straight toward where my car was parked. Branches snapping under my feet, leaves scattering behind me. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see what was there, if anything was there. But as I ran, I heard it, behind me. The zipper, closing, slow, careful, like someone was sealing the tent again from the inside. My chest tightened, because that meant something. Something had stayed in there, something I had just run away from. And it wasn't following me. It wasn't chasing. It wasn't making noise. It was just staying in my tent, like it belonged there now. I reached my car, unlocked it, got inside, and locked the doors immediately. I sat there for a second, trying to breathe, trying to calm down. Then I made the mistake. I looked back toward the tent, and I saw something. The entrance still slightly open, and something inside, moving. I didn't stare for long, just a few seconds, but it was enough.
because whatever was inside my tent was definitely moving. Not fast, not aggressively, just shifting, like something adjusting itself, getting comfortable. I turned away immediately, started the car, didn't even think about anything I left behind. My bag, my gear, none of it mattered anymore. I just wanted distance. I pulled out of the campground as fast as I could. The headlights cut through the trees as I drove. Everything outside looked normal again. Still, empty, like nothing had ever been there. But I didn't feel relieved, because something about it didn't feel finished. Like I had left something behind, but it hadn't let go of me. I drove for about 20 minutes before I finally slowed down, pulled over near the main road, sat there, hands still tight on the steering wheel, trying to calm my breathing, trying to make sense of everything. But nothing made sense. There was no explanation for any of it, no way to rationalize what I heard, what I felt, what I almost saw. I sat there for a few minutes longer. Then I reached into the passenger seat, looking for my phone, and that's when I noticed something I hadn't seen before. On the seat, right next to me, a small piece of fabric. I frowned, picked it up slowly, and immediately felt my stomach drop, because I recognized it. It was from my tent, the inside lining, the exact same material, the same color, the same texture. But I didn't bring anything from the tent. I hadn't grabbed anything. I ran straight out. There was no reason for that to be there, unless I stopped thinking, because I already knew. I looked down at the fabric again, then slowly turned my head toward the back seat. At first, everything looked normal, empty, still. Then something shifted just slightly. A small movement right behind me. I froze because I hadn't heard the door open. I hadn't stopped long enough for anyone to get in. There was no way anything could be there. And yet, I saw it, just for a second. A shape pressed low against the seat, not fully visible, not clear enough to understand, but definitely there. I didn't turn around. I didn't check again, because something told me if I looked directly at it, it wouldn't be subtle anymore. It wouldn't stay hidden. I started driving again, faster this time, not caring about the road, not caring about anything, just putting distance between me and that place. But even as I drove, I could feel it, that same presence. Not outside anymore, not in the woods, but inside the car. Quiet, still, waiting. And the worst part was realizing something I hadn't understood before. It didn't want to chase me. It didn't need to, because I had already brought it with me. And now, it didn't have to stay outside the tent anymore. Story 3. The Figure Between Trees. I wasn't supposed to be out there that late. The trail closes before sunset. There are signs at the entrance, clear ones. But I didn't think it mattered. It was a short hike, just a loop through a forest park in Washington. I'd been there before, during the day,
Nothing about it felt dangerous. So when I got there late and saw the empty parking lot, I didn't turn around. I just went in. The sun was already dropping behind the trees, that orange light fading fast. By the time I was halfway through the trail, it was almost completely dark. I had my phone, flashlight. I wasn't worried, at least not yet. The trail was easy to follow, well marked, wide enough that you didn't feel lost. Just trees on both sides, tall, dense, blocking out most of the sky. I remember thinking how quiet it was. Not peaceful quiet, different. Like the kind of quiet where something should be there, but isn't. No insects, no distant sounds, just nothing. That's when I noticed it. At first, I thought it was just a shadow, something between the trees, a darker shape among everything else. I didn't stop walking, just glanced at it as I passed. But something about it didn't feel right, because shadows don't stay in one place like that. They shift, they move with the light, but this one didn't. It stayed exactly where it was, perfectly still. I slowed down slightly, looked again, and that's when I realized it wasn't a shadow. It was a person, standing between the trees, far enough that I couldn't see details, but close enough that I knew. Human shape, arms at the sides, completely still, facing toward the trail, toward me. I stopped walking, just stood there for a second, trying to figure out what I was looking at. Another hiker, maybe? Someone who stayed too late? That happens. But something about the way they were standing felt wrong, too still, too fixed. I raised my hand slightly. "Hey," I called out. My voice echoed a little through the trees. The figure didn't move, didn't react, didn't respond, just stood there, watching. And that's when I felt it, that same shift, that quiet realization that something wasn't right. Because people don't stand like that, not alone, not at night, and not without moving at all. I stood there for a few seconds longer than I should have, waiting for some kind of reaction, anything. A step, a shift, even just a small movement to show it was a normal person. But nothing happened. The figure stayed exactly where it was, completely still. I told myself it was just someone messing around, maybe trying to scare people, or maybe they just didn't hear me. That made more sense. It had to. So I started walking again, slow at first, keeping my eyes on it, expecting it to move, to step out, to say something. But it didn't. The distance between us stayed the same. That's what I noticed first. No matter how many steps I took, it didn't feel like I was getting any closer. At first, I thought it was just perspective. The trees, the darkness, messing with depth. But after a few more steps, I realized something. The size of it didn't change, not even slightly. Still the same height, same width. Like it wasn't getting closer or farther, just fixed, in place. I slowed down, then stopped again, because now I wasn't sure what was happening. If it was a person, they should be closer by now, or I should have passed them already. But I hadn't. It was still there, in the exact same position, between the same two trees, watching. I took a step back, just to test it. The figure didn't change, still the same distance, still perfectly still. That's when something in my head shifted, because now there were only two possibilities. Either I wasn't moving, or it wasn't where I thought it was. Neither one made sense. I turned slightly, looked down the trail behind me, just to ground myself, make sure I wasn't disoriented. Everything looked normal. Same path, same trees. Then I turned back. The figure was still there, but something about it felt different now. Not closer, not farther, but clearer, like I could see more detail without actually moving toward it. The shape looked more defined, less like a shadow, more like a person. And then I noticed something else. Its head. It wasn't facing me anymore. It had turned, slightly, like it was looking past me, down the trail, behind me. I felt my chest tighten, because I hadn't seen it move, not even a little. 1 second it was facing me, and the next, it wasn't. I didn't turn around. I didn't want to, because something told me if I did, I wouldn't see the same trail anymore. I kept my eyes on it, even though it wasn't looking at me anymore, because somehow that made it worse. Before, it felt like I was being watched. Now, it felt like it was watching something else, something behind me. I swallowed, tried to stay calm. Just keep walking, I told myself. Just get back to the car. I didn't need to understand it. I just needed to leave. So I started moving again, slow, careful, not taking my eyes off the figure. But after a few steps, something changed. Not with it, with the space around me. The trail felt longer, like it stretched further than before. The trees looked the same, but something about the distance felt off. I took another step, then another, and then I saw it. Another figure, further down the trail, behind the first one, standing between another set of trees. Same shape, same posture, completely still. My stomach dropped, because now I knew it wasn't just one, and the second one was facing me, while the first one still wasn't. I stopped walking, completely. My eyes moved between them, trying to understand what I was seeing. They didn't move, didn't react, didn't do anything at all. Just stood there, one facing away, one facing me, like they were positioned that way on purpose. Then something shifted. The first figure, the one closer to me, moved. Not a step, not walking, just its head, turning back toward me, slow, unnatural, like it wasn't supposed to move that way. And now, both of them were facing me at the same time. I felt something break in my chest, because now I understood something I didn't want to. They weren't random. They weren't just standing there. They were placed, positioned, like markers, and I was somewhere between them. I took a step back, just one, and immediately another figure appeared, behind me. I didn't see it directly, but I felt it. That same shift in the air, that same awareness, like something had just taken a position, completing something. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to, because now I understood. No matter where I moved, there would always be one in front of me and one behind, keeping me exactly where I was. Continue Story 3, Part 4. I stopped trying to understand it, because understanding it didn't help. Nothing about this made sense anymore. The trail didn't feel real. The distance didn't behave normally, and those figures, they weren't just standing there. They were controlling something. I could feel it, like every step I took was already decided. I turned slightly to the side, not fully around, just enough to confirm what I already knew. There was another one behind me. Same shape, same stillness, standing between two trees, facing directly toward me. I snapped my head back forward, my breathing getting heavier now, because I wasn't just seeing them anymore. I was surrounded by them, front, back, and something told me there were more just out of view, waiting. I tried to move again, forward this time, toward the first figure, just to see what would happen. I took one step. Nothing changed. Still the same distance, still standing there, like I hadn't moved at all. I took another step. Same result. No change, no progress, just the same space, the same distance, the same figures. That's when panic finally hit, because now I knew something for sure. I wasn't getting out of there, not by walking, not by running, not by doing anything I understood. I turned again, quick this time, trying to break it, trying to force something to change. But everywhere I looked, there was another one. Same posture, same stillness, all facing me, all watching, like I was the center of something, something I wasn't supposed to be in. My chest tightened, my vision started to blur slightly, because I didn't know what to do anymore. Then, they moved. Not walking, not stepping, just shifting, all at once, slightly closer. The distance changed for the first time, and it changed in the wrong direction. I stepped back instinctively. They shifted again, closer, not fast, not sudden, just inevitable, like no matter what I did, they were going to reach me. I turned and ran, didn't think, didn't choose a direction, just ran. Branches hit my arms, leaves snapping under my feet, but after a few seconds, I realized something. The forest didn't change. The trees looked the same. The ground felt the same. And when I stopped, they were still there, in front of me. Same distance, same position, like I had never moved at all. And they looked forward at the figures, the same way I had. Confused, trying to understand what they were seeing. And that's when everything clicked. The distance, the positions, the way nothing changed. I looked down at my feet, then back at the trail, then at the person in front of me, and realized something I hadn't understood until that moment. I wasn't moving through the forest. I hadn't been for a while. I had already stopped, already taken my place between the trees, and the person walking toward me wasn't seeing me the same way I hadn't seen the others at first. I tried to move, tried to step forward, but nothing happened. My body didn't respond, didn't shift, didn't do anything at all, because I wasn't walking anymore. I was standing, still, in position, facing the trail. And slowly, very slowly, I felt my head begin to turn on its own toward the next person, walking into the forest like I had been there the whole time, waiting, just like the others, for someone else to take the next spot.